16 of the GRF podcast. So today we have Shinyo and Dennis with me as usual, but today we also have a very special guest, and that guest is no other than Sim Vansevenant, or SRD flat out, as he's known in some communities, and he's going to be joining us today, and we're very, very excited about that. Guys, do you want to say hello? Focus, Shinyo, Sim?
Sure.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Nice to be back.
Hi, everyone.
Good. All right.
Evening.
Hey, Sim. So we're really, as I said, very excited to have you here. So you guys know Denison Stain already, Shinyo. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about Sim. He probably needs no introduction at all. He's an accomplished Dirt Rally 2 driver with multiple world records, great esports performances. He does pretty well in other driving games as well, as you'll find out. He was a semi-finalist in the 2021 Dirt Rally 2 World Series. He makes stunning car liveries, which he really, I think they're absolutely gorgeous for multiple driving games. And he's one of the most enthusiastic rally YouTubers with this channel called Sims Racing. And he drives, Dirt Rally 2, WRC, the old WRC, AC rally games, Assetto Corsa. And then he's got multiple guides, reviews, commentary videos. Easily the best post EA WRC trailer video that I've seen. It's got almost 10,000 views. It deserves many, many more. He's done follow-up videos. And we're really just so excited to have him on here today. And I think we're going to have a blast getting to know you, Sim. How are you doing?
I'm doing perfectly fine, thanks. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to a good talk.
Cool. So Sim, I've given a list of accolades there, but you know what? I have probably missed out a bunch of stuff. So I'd love to hear more about you. Why don't you share with Shinyo, Dennis, and everybody else a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get stuck into asking you some questions and grilling you about who Sim Vansevenant really is.
Yeah, perfectly. So I am indeed Sim, better known as SRD Flat Out in the gaming world. So I'm 32 years old. I live in Belgium in the Ypres region, which is very well known for the rally in the area. And yeah, that's more or less who I am. Always open to help, always open to talk to anybody. But we'll see about that now.
Okay, so Shinyu and Dennis, are there things that you are just itching to ask Sim? Because I'm sure there must be. I certainly have a bunch of things that I want to, talk about. Dennis,
Yeah, personally, I'm just super interested in. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
First. Sorry, Joe, broke it. Anyway, yeah, I maybe have one question, but I would like to direct this question to Sim and also to you other guys, and it's as simple as what's your favorite car in the new EA Sports Rally game from the recently from the car list which was made public this week?
Well, there are quite a number of them. A few very nice additions, like the Seat Cordoba WRC, which is one of my favorites just because of how it looks. It always has a bit of a soft spot for me. What else? Quite a number of the kit cars, which I like. And especially the Super 1600 and Super 2000 class as well. There are just too many to name up. I don't even know which one I'll take for a spin the first time I load up the game. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Okay. Joe?
Oh, I must say, when I was watching the trailer video for the first time, I was pretty happy with what I was seeing. And then the Lancia Delta Integrale came on. And
yeah, I knew it.
and then my mouth, like I just had the biggest smile on my face, and I was just surprised. That surprised me actually.
Yeah, but it's like the most common car that you're picking. I mean, it was crystal clear that the car would be in the game and you're picking it.
Yeah, but you know, okay, look, I told Sim, right, I don't really know that much about real world rally, right? But I'll tell you, that car just sounds like the perfect machine to me, right? I like how angry it sounds, right? And how great it handles, you know, I love it. But if I had to choose any other cars, I mean, if you just wanted the one answer, right, it was going to be a Lancia. I'm a big Subaru fan, but driving the Stratos, the 037, and the Delta Integrale, and even the S4, you know, I love all of those cars. But I would say, you know, the having the Escort in H3, right, is going to be something that I'm looking forward to trying, the H3 rear-wheel drive.
The one with the Millington engine.
Yeah, exactly.
With the 2.5 liter.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. This is going to maybe be weird, but I'm looking forward to driving the McRae R4 again, because you know it was in Dirt 3. And you know, I think it's great that there's a third car now in the R4. But yeah, those are the ones.
It's going to be a very interesting car because it's mid-engine and the rear-wheel drive, so it'll be a lot of fun. Do
you guys know on which car it is actually based? I'm not 100% sure, but I think I know on which car it's actually based. Do you know that?
I'm not sure. I think it's just based on, you know, a concept they created themselves, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like a bit like a Volkswagen to me.
No, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think that I read back in the day, I mean that was like 20 years ago, that it's based on the first generation Ford ka.
Oh, yes, I see it, yeah.
Look at the roof. I mean, Joe, I guess you know the first generation car.
No,
you're all European, so you should look at the roof line and the window line of the McRae car, and then you can see kind of the first generation Ford car.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we'll come back to the new EA Sports game a lot, I think, in the rest of the podcast. No, that's fantastic.
So I can't say my favorite car. Okay, no worries. Go on.
No.
Oh, we forgot Shinyo.
No. I was just about to say Shinyo.
He's here too, yeah.
No, I was just about to say Shinyo. You've been very quiet, so why don't you take the chance to answer this question?
I was waiting my turn, and then just skip over me. I'm like,
I know.
You know, my favorite car that I look out to is the Citroen Xara. Yeah, kill me. From long ago, I had this framed-in puzzle. There was only a 100-piece puzzle. It was super easy, but I framed it in. It was a gray Citroen Xara hanging on my wall. Been looking at that ever since. I think it's sparked my love for rally.
Actually, I had an RC car. That was the Xara.
Okay, nice.
I have a model car right here, Sebastian Loeb's Xara.
Yeah, well, that made my heart pound a little faster and sat out on the review list. And then I must admit, I was also a sucker for the Lancia. Seeing that, because you say, oh no, the Lancia was for sure going to be in the game. I think no, because there was a lot of, for me at least, unclarity of historic cars were going to be in.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, in the trailer we've seen a few things, we heard a few leaks, but having that, 100% certainty that the A-Class is going to be in and the Lancers was going to be there, it was like, we can continue having fun.
Yeah, the Delta is now going to be the go-to car in that class, as the Lancer has been moved up. So, the Delta Integrale is going to be the one that beats everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we will talk about later on in our clubs, we have a special events club where we put car restrictions on. And so, when we have a Group A, we're probably going to say, not everyone's going to be able to take the Lancia every time. Otherwise, we'll just have a big Integrale fest. But we'll talk a bit more about that coming up as well. So anyone else want to chime in about the cars for right now, or should we move on?
Let's talk about the cars again later.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, okay, good. So Sim, how did you get into Sims, may I ask? Like how motorsports in general, rally in particular. I know your favorite surface is tarmac, so you want to tell us about your background in interest in motorsports, let's say.
Well, when it comes to rally gaming, it actually started with the very first Colin McRae rally game. My dad bought it and he wanted to play, and he also bought a Momo steering wheel, so one of the very first ones. He never really got to play it because I was sitting behind the wheel most of the time, so that annoyed him a bit, but that's how I got into it. Eventually played through many generations of the Colin McRae games, Dirt games, but also the Evolution Studios WRC games, and many others.
Yep.
When it comes to motorsport in general, or rally in general, I live in the Ypres region, which is famous for the Ypres rally, of course.
Yep.
So from the age of 3, I went to every single rally that was organized here in the region. The Ypres rally, except for one. So, together with my dad, the very first time I had my earmuffs on, one of those big noise cancellating earmuffs, which was brilliant to go on the shoulders of my dad. And, since then, always been hooked on rally.
Fantastic. That's really cool. And so then you just started driving these games. When did you decide, hey, I'm going to record this and put this stuff on YouTube? And how did you get into making the YouTube content for the Sims Racing channel?
That actually started with, I think, the Dirt Rally 3 Wheel of Wishes. I think that one was one of my first real videos where I talked, discussed a certain topic, and that went well. I needed to discover quite a bit using Premiere Pro and so on, the video editing software. So, it took me a while, but eventually I got into it and started making other stuff, such as the guides as how to master Spanish tarmac. That was one of them.
Yep.
Where I explained physics and how the car behaved and how you need to work around that and use setup and so on to play with the car.
Yep.
Did that for a few other locations as well, and things kept rolling. Eventually, I also went into reviews for games, which was mainly focusing on the WRC franchise by KT Racing, which I wasn't exactly thrilled about how they did things, but that's besides the point now, as it's no longer in their possession. Now it's Cody's that has the license, so we'll have to wait and see how they rock the boat and see what they can come up with.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really a fan of those videos, the early ones especially, with the setup and stuff for Spain. Before I ask you a little bit about that or comment on it, anyone else want to say anything? I mean, I know that we've been watching your videos for a while. Dennis, is there anything you wanted to ask, and Shinyo?
No, have nothing to ask. I just want to say that I really, really fell in love with your YouTube channel at the time when you did those reviews and pre-release videos of WRC Generations. That was really good. I remember that time that I was like checking daily if there has been new content by you.
Well, yeah, it's great to do those things, but they are quite time consuming, and you can only do a review once, so finding other ways to do it is not that easy. Also, having a full-time job at the time and so on, I didn't always have time to work on those things.
Yeah, sure.
Also had the designing side of my my brand, as it were, which took up a lot of time, and needed to switch between things.
Yeah, sure. I just think I really liked your analysis. I remember when you did the videos and then you started analyzing like how the gravel stuff works in the WRC game and the tarmac stuff, and I was just like blown away. I thought this guy really knows what he's talking about. Even though you weren't like the biggest fan, but you were really, it was really on point and it was really fair, without that I just want to collect as many clicks as possible attitude that a lot of channels have.
Yeah, I always try to educate or try to explain things in a certain way. I'm a stickler for detail, so I always go way too deep into things, which is why some of my videos are way too long. But I like those things, and some other people do as well, clearly. And I keep working on those things, try to be concise enough, but give you all the information that is necessary.
Right, and going back to, I think one of the first videos I saw was the Spain video. And I was fairly inexperienced at the time, and tarmac is still my worst surface, I would say. But I was listening to what you were saying about tuning, and at one point I said, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about," right? When you said, "Oh, there are these beautiful long straights in Spain." And so you have your final gear ratio fairly low because you want the car to get up to top speed quickly. And I was like, no, that's not right. You want a really high top speed. And then I quickly discovered what you were talking about and what the importance is. And since then, I've been telling people, no, don't worry about the top speed. Even if you do have a long straight, you're not going to be at top speed for a long time, and just getting to a good compromise. Of course, you want a decent top speed if you can get there early enough and hold it for a little while, but it's really the area under the curve that matters, right? And so people have taken that advice, which I got from you, and that was fantastic. Furthermore, the Monte Carlo video, that you were the first person that actually took a deep dive into all the setup, the tire choice, and I basically parrot what you said in that video to anyone who asks as well. And especially the idea about time of day and the degradation and how that can affect the amount of ice there is and how the ice persists, and knowing the lines to take, right? That was all stuff that I got from that video, and I do revisit it and link it every now and again as well.
Thanks for that. Well, yeah, it is indeed. There's a bit more to it than just dry tarmac and wet or snowy tarmac.
Yeah.
And based on how much there is, the time of day is also something that slightly impacts it, but not too much.
Yep.
But I felt like I noticed it enough to mention that, and also trying to avoid it's not necessarily the ideal line you'll follow or through a corner, but it's the most the line that has the most grip, so you need to make a compromise and find the ideal grip, which isn't always the ideal line, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one thing I learned, and I also discovered through experience in certain car classes, you could take soft tires for Prat de l'Arc and be faster overall. Whereas with other classes, you might want to take the winter tires, but it does depend on things like the degradation, because that affects how much ice there is apparently as well.
Yeah.
As I recently discovered. Yeah, so if you've got a nice clear day, then you might be better off taking soft tires for that long. For the long stage going uphill, especially in maybe 2000cc or R5, but in in other classes and other conditions, winter tires all the way. And it's always great to see in the competition what people have chosen, to see if they can get away with it. So yeah, very cool. Same, I think.
And it also, sorry.
Go ahead.
It also matters when you consider that you have a very long stage, but there are usually 2 or 3 extra stages behind that.
Absolutely.
So you need to keep that in mind. If there are 2 tarmac stages and 1 long one in Monte Carlo, that it's better to go for the soft option, as you'll lose far more time one way, and also lose your grip in the snow if you use snow tires. When, for example, you have the 2 shorter ones on tarmac first, and then the long one with the snow. By the time you hit the snow, your snow tires will have been degraded almost completely, and the grip level, you won't have an advantage from those snow tires, for example.
Yeah, exactly. The studs will be worn away on the tarmac and so on. So yeah, Monte Carlo also, I would say to people, maybe count up the total number of dry sectors and icy sectors in the loop, make a decision based on that. But then you also have to worry about how good the person is as a driver. If they are on soft tires in the ice, we know what that's like when you drive it perfectly or ideally, and you're quite good. But you've also got to remember that some people aren't as experienced, and they're much more likely to crash on the ice with soft tires and lose a lot of time.
And that's why I always take, or in like 95% of the rallies, I take snow tires for Monte Carlo, no matter if it's like the completely dry stages or the mixed stages or the snow stages.
Yeah, if you take the soft tires, it is a risk. It is quite a big risk, but it is very worthwhile when you exactly know how the car will behave in certain situations on the snow, on the ice. Once you get a grip with that, you can get a lot more out of it than when you take snow tires.
But to do so, I think you have to be a good driver, a good experienced driver.
Yeah, and have quite a bit of practice, not just similar practice as in going on a stage over and over again, but focusing on certain specific aspects. How the car behaves in a certain situation. Focus on that, and then other things, and it will be far better to improve your driving than just going up and down again and again.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I've become a big fan of Monte Carlo now. My tarmac driving sucks, but fortunately there's enough ice there that I end up having a decent advantage over, some of my competitors, because I like the icy bits, and I've spent a long time kind of trying different styles and techniques in coping with the ice, especially in rear-wheel drive cars or in soft tires as well. So yeah. Stain, you want to say anything about Monte Carlo?
I try to ignore Monte Carlo.
Well, when it comes to
my least favorite track, because you guys can talk about mastering every patch of ice and knowing how the car behaves. I'm just like,
exactly.
God in heaven, no, get me through this. I like the snowy bits though.
Yeah, the snowy bits, you need to get into that flow. Once you get that flow, it's very easy and very natural. Just go from one, slide from one in the other.
Yeah, I love it. I love it up there. But all the shit in between, nah.
Okay, yeah, I
just like the dry stages. I like the dry stages with no snow and no ice at all.
And
I like the challenge.
There's still a bit of ice, and there's like, oh God, no, this section.
Well, maybe
dry tarmac and the front-wheel drive car in Monte Carlo. That's what I like.
They should make it like two sectors and a half, and then I'm fine with Monte. Driving.
Just cut the middle bit out. Just go straight from tarmac to full snow.
Tarmac, and then a long tunnel, and then snow.
A long tunnel.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. All right. Well, Dennis, you're saying tarmac, right? And right now we've only had Spain so far, right? For this pure tarmac, no concrete or whatever. But maybe, this is a good segue into the new game where we'll probably have more options than just Spain. So, Sim, I know you've made more than one video in the wait for the new EA Sports WRC game. How excited are you about this prospect, and how disappointed were you with the lack of a Dirt Rally 3 last year? Let's just talk about that transition from Dirt Rally 2 to EA Sports WRC now.
Well, I was hoping, I heard a few things here and there, that Dirt Rally 3 was in development, so I expected it to be, but that was before I knew the license changed hands to Codemasters. So I was excited for Dirt Rally 3, and I if I remember correctly, thought it would be around last year somewhere that it would have come out. But I completely understand that they moved on from that and went to EA Sports WRC, which allows them to do a lot more, especially with the modern rally cars, the Rally 1, Rally 2s, and so on. So I'm really happy they did that, and I'm really looking forward to what they come up with. And so far, all the things they are releasing, they are showing us, are the right things. They are sharing the right things with us.
Right. I know in September they're supposed to. Well, we've got the maybe not all the details about all the locations, but we have most of the locations pretty much down pat. We know all the cars for sure, at least on release date. I think in September.
I'm pretty sure that the locations we figured them out pretty much and sorted them out as well. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure I know every one of them.
Right, and I think everyone should watch your videos, right? The second one, especially about the locations and what you think things like Oceania, Pacifica, etc. are. But what we're also expecting in September is some gameplay stuff, right?
Not necessarily gameplay as in gameplay footage. That's going to be for October, as the roadmap showed. But I suspect it was next week. Yeah, next week they'll show some, or they'll share some information about the gameplay as a whole.
Yep.
What that will be exactly, I'm still trying to figure that out. Not sure what it is. But I suspect it will be an interview of sorts where they discuss certain things. In particular when it comes to gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, that would be really nice to know, and of course we can't wait to see the footage of gameplay as well. But unlike some people, I'm not that I don't care that much about how amazing the graphics are going to be. Obviously, like an improvement. But
that's because you're on VR, Joe. That's painted. I have the same feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I just love. It's the feel of the game that I think is going to be of driving the cars is what's really important, right? And the new locations itself is.
But I do think it's a bit tainted there because we're in VR, and I mean because you're in the flow and you're in the car, the graphics don't matter that much. But I remember a day back in the days where I used to have a screen only, and then graphics did matter a lot. So I can understand a few of the comments.
When the trailer came out for the new game, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this looks like WRC Generations," which, in my opinion, is not even a bad thing. I think a lot of these people have not played WRC Generations because it is, in fact, it's a really good looking game at most in most locations and the weather conditions. So if the new EA Sports Rally game looks a little bit like WRC Generations, I would be perfectly fine with that.
I would be too.
Actually, I don't think it looks that similar. When you put them next to one another, it's quite a difference actually. Because KTE Racing used their own gaming engine. I don't know the name exactly. And now EA Sports, the Codemasters branch, the development team behind EA Sports WRC, moved on from their Ego engine onto the Unreal engine. We don't know which version of the Unreal engine they are using, whether it's 4, 5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3. We don't know at the moment. They're not sharing that at the moment, which is a bit odd, but I'm curious to know which version they are actually using. But, you see quite a big difference in graphics, a step up from what they were able to do in the Ego engine, I think, especially when it comes to lighting and so on.
I also don't think it looks exactly the same as WRC Generations, but that's just like what a lot of the comments under the release trailer video were about that.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I double checked myself because I wasn't sure. And when I checked, it was like, maybe a little, but
when a little bit, but it's not. Yeah.
It has a hint of it. It has a hint of it.
Yeah.
I think it might.
Sim, I have a question for you. Do you think the game will be released as a game as a service? You know, because it's named I don't even know the exact name. EA Rally and not EA Rally 23, 24 or whatever.
EA Sports WRC.
EA Sports WRC. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. It does indeed not have the 23, which you usually see with other games such as FIFA or Madden or Formula 1. Those have usually a number behind it. EA Sports WRC does not. It might indicate that there's a live service element to it. But personally, I think it's a bit of a combination of both. Because, you know, now that the game will come out, it's already November. And the 2023 season WRC will be wrapped up. Having a game now and then coming out with another one in several months, for example, for the 2024 season, is a bit odd. I don't think that's worth your while. You won't be able to do much in that time span to improve the game itself and come out with a new one. So I think it's going to be 2023 and 2024 combined in this one. And another reason why I'm saying that is because of the 5-season VIP passes. And usually in gaming, seasons take about 3 to 4 months. So if you add those up, 5 times 3 or 5 times 4, you end up at the end of 2024, early 2025. Well, actually, early 2025, mid 2025. So I think by that period, we'll get a new game, which will allow them to have a lot more time to create that one and improve drastically, especially when it comes to moving on to a newer version of the Unreal Engine and adding a lot more as content-wise then.
Do you think we will see a yearly release then in the future?
Maybe that could be an option, or they could do something similar like they did with the Dirt Rally series, which was basically a Dirt Rally game, then 2 years, and then another Dirt Rally game. I think it's going to be something similar like that in 2025 and then 2027, which will be the last one, as the license takes us from 2023 to 2027. So I think we'll see one game now, one in 2025, and then maybe another one in 2027. That's my prediction, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a reasonable thing, especially without the numbered year right now. I know that I was kind of disappointed, not disappointed, but let's say a bit nostalgic that we're finally going to be saying goodbye to Dirt Rally 2, and especially with Dirt Rally 3 never making it out. But if we just got a bunch of new stages to the Dirt Rally 2 game last year, and maybe an improved handling model, I would have been happy just carrying on playing that and just adding new locations, new cars, if that appropriate, and just having the same kind of platform that we could continue playing forever. I think having Dirt Rally 2 for so many years has really consolidated the community. I know a lot of people have lost interest, but the people who play it now are the real rally enthusiasts, right? People who really like it. At least that's what I find. And I'm glad that there won't be a yearly release, because even after 5 years, I'm now only just really getting familiar with being able to run any stage in any conditions with any car, and having to kind of relearn everything each year, more or less, would have been not my kind of thing. I'm a bit more slower paced than that when it comes to gaming.
All right, but in a way, now that Dirt Rally 3 isn't coming out, their work hasn't gone to waste, because many of the assets and many of the things they designed for that specific game have been incorporated into the new EA Sports WRC. There are quite a number of things you can notice
Yes.
when it comes to the content, such
Yep.
as the 5 extra locations.
Yep.
I suspect those 5 were originally planned for Dirt Rally 3.
Well, they didn't have the
And
license.
eventually
Yeah.
they decided to add them to EA Sports WRC. The same goes for a few cars, such as the Colin McRae cars, the Nova, the Hillman Avenger, name a few others. There are a few other community cars like the Seat WRC or the Seat Cordoba WRC is one of them because it's a community favorite. So, many of those found their way into Dirt Rally 3 and eventually moved on into EA Sports WRC.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not. I'm so excited for this new game. I'll be getting. Well, I've already bought it. But yeah, I'm hoping that what you're saying about not having a yearly release will be true, because it just takes me a little bit longer to warm up to the games. Being in my mid-50s. So.
Yeah, I think it will benefit both the player and the developer as well. They have more time to work on the next title and improve things that need improving and add things that people want, and also gives the players enough time to grow communities within that specific game and create events and create many things. So it's beneficial for both parties, I believe, but the license contract suggested that it will be an annual thing, but it was phrased in a certain way that it wasn't sure. They were allowed to release annual iterations of the game, but it said allowed and not obliged. So
Right.
in that way, it leaves the door open for not annual releases, but bi-yearly or something else.
Yep, I get it. I think that's a really good, shrewd analysis there, that they're allowed to release content. I'm sure they will be releasing periodic content with the seasons and all of that, but they're not obliged to. So that's pretty cool. Yep, I see that. Shinyo, do you want to say anything about how you feel about the game and what people's reactions have been in the discussion as well?
Personally, I'm just super excited. I'm a bit sad that VR is not going to be there at release, obviously.
Yep.
But I'm excited nonetheless in that sense that I'm now staring at my sim rig and trying to figure out how I can put my curved screen back. So yeah, that'll be the direction that I'll go in.
All right.
I think overall, especially in our Discord, there's always a mixture of emotions, but I think the general emotion is positivity. So I think we can feed on that as well.
Yeah,
with,
I think
the GRF community.
I think there's a lot of people being positive. It's just that the negative people are talking loudest or most frequently sometimes, and we need to actually look at the overall picture, which is
Yeah, indeed. People that are a bit negative get called out pretty fast, and I think that's why I feel like knowing the community I've built, and GRF at least, is a very warm and positive for most of the time community. So I'm pretty sure the general the general reception will be quite warm.
Yeah, when you look at what certain negative people say, or people who have negative comments about it, usually when they say something, it doesn't really make sense, or they haven't really done any research themselves, just because, the usual EA did, or it comes from EA, so microtransactions and all that stuff is going to be in there, and you're going to pay millions and millions and this and that. There's no evidence that that's going to be the case as of this moment, and lots of other things they say without any backing or any evidence at all.
Right.
Also, put all that money-making thing away. EA, in my honest opinion, EA is making good sports games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I have no reason to be over negative with the game, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and also consider that, or take into account that, for example, DLC content is usually not incorporated into the price of the base game. So usually that's content that's created afterwards, and they need to get revenue from that to pay for the people that worked on it, to pay for the hours, the licensing, you name it. That needs to be paid for. So that's a way of them getting back for the money that they should earn for their work. But usually people don't think that far.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and
especially but now with the approach you're taking with leaving the year number out, whatever the reason behind it is. But I think it's in my head it was always a perfect reason, because as soon as there was a notions of a new game being announced and they're gonna have the WRC license made by Codemasters, like fuck yeah, but it's gonna be a good game. But if they're gonna do yearly releases, it'll just, I mean, it'll put people in different categories again. I mean, not everyone is going to buy a new game every year. So you're going to have disparity in the community. You're going to have to cater for 2 or 3 generations of games. So the way they took this, and like you explained it just before, Sim, I think that is the way forward as well, to have like 2 or 3 years in this game and then only move on to a newer one. Or
yeah.
Well, I'd say an evolution of the current game. I think that's the ideal path. Do not have a lot of, I would say, the schisms within communities. People staying back for, WRC 23 was a lot better than 24. I'm staying here, stuff like that. Or people even staying in Dirt Rally 2. I think this is a good way to have like the bulk of the community move over to the new game and then build from there. So I think that's a really solid approach, personally.
Yeah, and also one of the other things I read quite often is, oh my god, the price is only 44 or 50 euros. This game is going to be filled with microtransactions. This is here and there. Usually I go, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me, right? Don't you be happy that this game is just that much, and everything they are showing, everything they are releasing is very promising. The amount of content that is in there, 18 locations, 78 cars, all those things for 44 or 50 euros is an absolute bargain. And why couldn't you just be happy that this is happening?
Even with microtransactions on cars, Joe and I will just buy the Lancia del Integrale.
I mean,
and the
what I always say, maybe this is just me, but I always say if a game is really good and I'm going to play it for like 2 years, 3 years, or even longer, I'm ready to shell out some money for DLCs and extra stuff. I have absolutely no problem with that. If it's a good game,
yeah, absolutely, and you're not forced to buy it. It's an option that you have. You don't have to buy it. It's an option.
Exactly.
So if you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. If you want it, do.
Yeah, I must say I agree completely. I paid almost double this amount for Dirt Rally 2. For the deluxe version that had the first 2 seasons added on. And people were complaining about the Dirt Rally 1 locations needed to be part of the game. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, Dirt Rally 2 was its own game, and to have the opportunity to load up Greece or Finland or Sweden or Germany or Wales would, without having to launch the old game, was just something that was worth paying for, in my opinion, to make the DR2 game better. And I'm glad. One of the things that I found was really unexpected for me was the importance of clubs, and then Discord, like our GRF, how people have really come together as a community, as a real community. I'm not just talking about it's only game based, but people have some people know each other in real life, but they talk about much more than just the game. And I get the feeling from the people that we've had on the show that it really does provide them with a sense of community, and especially in the post-COVID world and during COVID world, that was really important. And I think having, as Shinyu said, having a year-by-year release which would fracture that community would not be the ideal situation, I think, in really bringing people together. And bringing people together over a game was not something that I was expecting to see.
Indeed.
Yeah, sorry about my little monologue there.
No problem. Go ahead. You are free to do so.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think many of us are excited about is the possibility of the long stages. What do you think about that, Sim?
I'm really, really excited about that. I predicted that each location will have roughly 20, between 25 and 40 kilometer stages. Apparently, according to a leak from Tom Henderson a few days ago, each location will have 35 kilometers of unique roads, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the reasons that the dev team moved from the Ego engine to Unreal, because the Ego engine had quite a lot of limitations when it comes to stage length. And now that they moved to Unreal, they can open up that whole playbook and create such amazing long stages that will be driving in a Rally 1 car for 20 minutes on end. Imagine how long that will take in a H1 front-wheel drive car such as the Mini Cooper S. You'll be driving for half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Will be fun.
Yeah, it will be amazing, except when you get a puncture in the first sector.
It's part of the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, so you're telling me 35 minutes of Monte Carlo. Oh.
Yeah,
you'll be sweating.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think. So all of those things, and the car choices, all the locations, it's going to be overwhelming to start off with. I'm not going to know what I want to do first. What's the first thing you're going to do, Dennis? What's the first thing you're going to do when you get it?
I think I'll take the Ford Puma for a spin. The old Puma, the Super 1600.
Okay.
Not the Rally 1 car. Because that's one of my all-time favorite cars. Even like the normal street version is one of my all-time favorite small coupe cars. So that's definitely something I'm going to do.
Okay, Sim and then Stein, what are you guys going to do?
I think the first thing will be just playing around with the times a year. I'm super excited about that. So not really matters on what car, but just playing around with different seasons in the same location will be just awesome.
Cool. And Sim, what's the biggest priority for you when you get the game in your hands?
Let's see. I've been thinking about so many things, and I want to try out so many things at the same time, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'll do first. I'll most likely go for a drive, but where I have no idea. It's going to be tarmac. I know that's going to be the case. It's going to be tarmac.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out which location yet. And when it comes to cars, I'd probably take one at random. But if I had to choose right now, I'd probably go for the... which one should I pick? The Skoda Fabia RS Rally 2 with the Solberg livery, which is coincidentally my own design. So I'd love to go for a spin in that one first.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. So, there's just so much. I don't even know what I would do. I'll probably end up taking the Alpine in Greece. Something really boring like that. No, I would definitely be trying some new gravel stage. Maybe the Pacifica thing, because that just looked so amazing. And definitely I would probably jump into the WRC 1 Rally 1 category, because we haven't seen that in the game for a long time, and I'd love to just try out the baddest cars, because I've never since I guess Dirt Rally had the chance to do that. So Sim,
what? Before I would drive, I would actually go into the files myself.
Yep.
I just thought of that to see if I can get to the design files, to see if I will have the opportunity to design liveries for the game or not.
Yep.
Because there is a rumor that those will be locked, encrypted, and we won't be able to design liveries as we usually do for Dirt Rally. So I'll be curious to know if that is going to be the case, if we will or won't be able to design for it, because I already have a load of cars or liveries I'm planning to do.
Yep.
The list is about 100 cars at the moment, so
Wow.
But will you also be driving? Or
definitely. Yeah, driving, obviously.
So, Sim, when you said that the Solberg livery is your design, what did you mean by that?
Well, I actually designed that or a similar livery to the one Oliver Solberg used in earlier this year.
Yeah.
And it was for the same car in Assetto Corsa.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I got a message from the marketing and social media guy from Oliver Solberg asking if I would be okay if they used my livery and adjusted it a bit and used it for the WRC2 season on their actual Fabia RS Rally 2. So,
wow.
I was a bit struck. I was the first thing that popped into mind was, this is some kind of joke. Who's pulling this one off?
Yeah.
Checked the guy out and saw that he was actually working for Oliver Solberg. And so things kept rolling and moving, and eventually, I put that design on a template for them to use, for the car wrapper to use eventually to put it on the car itself, which had to be done very quickly. I had to do that in 2 days. So it was a quick job, but all went well, and eventually I had my car and also my logo on Oliver Solberg's Fabia Rally 2.
Okay, Shinyo, Dennis, can you believe this guy? Like he just made that comment, oh yeah, and that happens to be my design, like a throwaway comment, and it was taking me a few seconds, minutes for this to sink in and to ask him about this. But if that was me, that would be like the first thing I'd be talking about. I'd be like...
Indeed. It's crazy that all of a sudden somebody like Oliver Solberg asks me to if he could lend my design and put it on his actual car. So I was a bit starstruck. But in the end, things don't go to my head. I always keep calm and remain who I am, and that's how it goes.
This would have been me,
also
right?
really, really good-looking livery.
Thanks. I preferred it over the new one they have, to be honest. But Monster Energy decided that they wanted to, or they needed a rebrand. So that's what they did, and mine disappeared.
Yeah.
If we had our situations reversed, it would be like, Joe, can you tell me about yourself? Yeah, my name's Joe, and I made the fucking livery that's being used in the...
Yeah.
So that would have been me. Hats off to you, Sim, for the humbleness there. Okay, that's awesome. There's gonna obviously in our clubs, we've got a bunch of them. There's going to be a transition period where we are going to be phasing out Dirt Rally 2 and bringing in the new game into our clubs. Guys, should we spend a couple of minutes just talking about that and maybe getting Sim's thoughts on what features of the new game that might be appropriate to some of our clubs? Or is there anything else that we want to talk about the upcoming game with Sim about? Anyone?
I just have one thing which I would like to point out. I really, really like the cars list, but I realized that they have the car that I was really hoping for is not in the game.
Which one?
And it's the Escort RS Cosworth, but the WRC one, the one that Ford used after the Group A one.
Yeah, the very early WRC version. Yeah.
No, the very late one. The one with not with the whale tail wing, but with the smaller wing.
Yeah, the first WRC car Ford actually developed.
Yeah, exactly. The one that was like an evolution of the Group A car. Yeah. Yeah. Because the Focus wasn't out then. Yeah. And then when I saw that Pacifica or Indonesia is going to be in the game, I was pretty sure that the WRC Escort would be in the game since they won there in '97. It was a 1-2 win from Carlos Sainz and Juha Kankkonen.
Mhm.
And yeah, when they revealed the list, I saw that the car is not on the list, and I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, but it's a list. That class has 12 cars, if I remember correctly, and it's a good list. They brought back many of the Dirt Rally 2.0 cars, which is easier to do. You don't have to redesign or rework everything. Just more or less copy paste is a bit of a cheap way of saying things, but they had their assets and could move them over to the Unreal Engine. So that gave them a bit more room to add other things instead.
True.
Right.
I just thought since the car would fit in that biggest class that there is in the game, it would just have been really nice to have it in there. But yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they will release it in the future, but it's not. It's not like
in one of the next games, for example. That's definitely possible. I was hoping for example, the 2008 Impreza, the S14, that one would be dropped and would see the S12 or the S12B. That would have been insane. The Hawkeye Impreza, which is the best looking one in my opinion. I was hoping for that, but
Yeah, I was also hoping for the Octavia.
Yeah, that's a fan favorite as well. Yeah.
I'm glad they
But there's only so much space for cars, so and the move from the Lancer Evo 6 to that specific class as well. Very interesting, but very understandable.
That was a good move because the car was in the wrong class in Dirt Rally 2.0.
Yeah, it was far too powerful and far too modern compared to the other ones in that class.
Yeah, I'm glad they kept the hatchback though, the 2008 Subaru, because it's I have the regular hatchback Impreza as well as my daily driver, so it's nice to be able to jump into a car that kind of looks similar to mine in the game.
I can understand. My dad had the 97 Impreza GT, which is basically a version of the Impreza, as it were, during the time that Colin drove there, something like that.
Right.
So it was. I know how nostalgia works, and jumping into that car and then seeing that car more or less the same. As a rally car is absolutely brilliant.
Well, that's the whole marketing part of.
Do you know what the 97 or that generation of Impreza is called in Switzerland?
No.
It's the farmer's Ferrari.
That makes sense, actually.
That's funny. Sim, you say that your favorite surface is tarmac. And I've heard a lot of criticism about the Dirt Rally 2 tarmac physics model. So I'm sure that's something, I know, do you share in that criticism of it? And I guess this is also something that you're probably looking forward to an improved model. I know John Armstrong said, oh yeah, we managed to get the physics model into the Unreal Engine and made improvements, but they didn't specifically mention what improvements they made. So maybe what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was indeed critical as well about the Dirt Rally 2.0 tarmac physics. I know they are far from perfect. I'm not one of those guys that says, yeah, the whole game is perfect, nothing's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like you have some of those people saying about WRC Generations. I'm not like that. I know what's good about the game, but I also realize that certain things are bad or not good enough. For example, in Dirt Rally 2.0 you have the gravel and snow, which is great, but tarmac has always been a bit of a letdown. But I know from sources, from people I've been talking to, that one of their main priorities when it comes to physics is that tarmac feel. That's the one they are focusing on really well, because they are happy with the way gravel and snow works, but that tarmac, they really want to elevate that to the same level. and they made it a main priority for them to work on that. So I'm very hopeful when it comes to that, especially considering John Armstrong knows what he's talking about, knows what he's doing, and can provide a lot of valuable feedback to get things right. It's not going to be perfect already, but it's going to be a lot closer to what the real deal is than what we had in Dirt Rally 2.0.
Right. And talking of tarmac, we talked about like dry tarmac earlier as well. Can you just maybe remind us what we might expect? Which locations would that correspond to?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. What locations are going to be mostly dry tarmac?
Mostly dry tarmac. Well, tarmac in general, it's going to be Croatia. Croatia is definitely one. There's going to be Japan, the Central European Rally, which will be a post-launch release free of charge. Will also be full tarmac. Thinking about Spain, which will be Rally Iberia. One of the 5 extra locations, and also Corsica I'm suspecting to be in there, which will be full tarmac. And I'm thinking about, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, sorry.
We have Monte Carlo, but that's a bit of a mix of both.
Right.
I think that's pretty much it. I'll have to check, but I think that's more or less the list for that.
Right, I think so too. Yeah, so when I said dry tarmac, I mean, what I meant was like non-ice tarmac. And so you pretty much listed them. Dennis, you've got quite a few places to choose from when your front-wheel drive car.
I'm really looking forward to Croatia.
Yeah.
Because it has been, I think it's my favorite tarmac location in the WRC games. And since I think that front-wheel drive cars work best with tarmac, I'm really looking forward to that.
I think the Super 1600s, the front-wheel drive cars will be quite tricky on those tarmac stages because it's very rough, broken up tarmac, lots of bumps, very bumpy. So I think the cars will be dancing about on that, even on straights. It's going to be a bit of a handful, I think. But a lot of fun nonetheless.
Right. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all of these. I mean, there's Croatia, I think, was in dirt too, but I think it was gravel there.
Yeah, but that was some made up
stages. Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to the Central European Rally because at the moment, well, we know where the actual rally is being held. And the stages, or where the stages will be, but I haven't really seen any footage of the roads, what it will look like, if it's going to be a bit more like the Barum Rally or more like, I don't know, something completely different. So it will be very interesting as the rally in real life hasn't been organized yet. It's a completely new event. It'll be very interesting to see how that one turns out to be.
Their marketing department, the real life marketing department from the Central European Rally seems to be really bad because there's absolutely like no footage or no videos yet available.
There's nothing yet.
There even have been rumors if it's going to be cancelled. Don't know if you guys have heard about it. Yeah, because of the whole like climate activist things there, and I think Germany or some people in Germany, I'm not talking about Austria and Czech Republic, they're only Germany, they're like totally against it. Yeah, so...
Are the first ones to actually propose that event, Germany? I think so.
I don't know that, but I just it's what I read that the region in around Passau where the service park is located, that there's a lot of people totally against the event because they say it's not like in 2023, but it's more like that climate activist thing. People saying that in 2023 those events shouldn't exist anymore at all, and they don't want them in front of their door and stuff like that. So I wouldn't even wonder if they would cancel it like 2 weeks before the event starts.
I don't think that's going to happen. It's those people can be very loud, those protesters and so on, but The event. There's so much money that went into it. It's going to be held and it's going to be there. And
I hope so, because I'm planning to go there.
Yeah, it's not that far from me, I suspect.
Yeah, it's like 350, 400 kilometers.
That's quite all right, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, well, you know what? I think we can talk about the new game forever. Tire wear models we're hoping will probably be improved or made more nuanced, right? Rather than just take softs. Anyone want to talk about that? Tire wear?
I didn't know there were other tires, so...
Yeah.
Well, you didn't really need other tires except for the softs, unless you had snow and stuff like that, but those stages were very short, compared to the ones we are going to get. So, if you have 2 or 3 stages, in total about 60 kilometers, those softs are going to wear off quite a lot. And I don't think you'll be able to manage going through those few stages, 60, 70 kilometers on one set of soft tires. Don't think that's going to happen. So you'll have to have the hard compound, I suspect, as there isn't a medium in WRC at the moment. It's just soft and hard.
I see.
So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I hope that's something that they've improved on as well. That would be really cool to add one other dimension of strategy to your approach. And we have that.
Yeah, and especially like combining, like you had in WRC Generations, that was one of the features I really liked, was that you could cross compounds. So have a soft compound on the right front and a soft compound on the left rear, and then hards on the other. Stuff like that you could do in WRC Generation. I would love to have that in EA Sports WRC as well. It adds a bit of strategy, as you mentioned.
Yeah, cool. Okay. As I said, I hope that is the case, because it's it's not overwhelming you with like managing each of the mechanics and taking it to the extent of like a management game, but it does help you add a very relevant layer to the performance of your car.
Yeah, it's an essential part of rally sport, so having that in the game would be fantastic.
Fantastic, I agree. So in GRF, right, we have a community. How many members do we have now? Over 1,000, would you say, in the club, Dennis?
Yeah, it was 1,000 in the main club. I think it's 1,560 or 70, something like that.
All right, and then on our Discord, how many do we have?
715, 720, something like that.
Yeah, so it's a fairly sizable club, and we've got various events that go on. We have the regular championship sim, which is basically just Dirt Rally 2 without a custom scoring model. Just you do the stages. It's not anything special in terms of endurance or themes or anything like that. And I think that would be very simple to port over, right, to the EA Sports game. So are we ready to talk about the transitions, Dennis? You think? Yeah. So I think we got together, the administrators, and we've decided that the regular championship is going to continue to run on DR2 while we have members who are playing DR2, but likely from day one we will have a parallel regular championship in the EA Sports WRC game. And so we should have at the beginning of November a new club, which will be the regular championship. We also have a special events club sim where we put together more challenging or themed kind of events, like it might be a Group B challenge, or it could be something with endurance where you have very long stages with on a single set of tires, or what I kind of like to do when I'm feeling particularly masochistic is only giving frequent but 15-minute services for people to try to preserve their car. And I think with the new game, especially with the 30 plus kilometer stages, endurance events especially could be something that we can do in the special club. But really, for the special club, we're going to keep things as they are for now. But I believe we will have to have an idea, a better idea of what's going to be in the new game before we transition the special events club into the EA Sports WRC. But we'll be able to do that probably quite quickly. Yeah, so Sim, we don't know what the scoring models are going to be like, what the multiplayer is going to be like, but it'd be great to be able to do things in different seasons, have long stages, and one of the things that would be really amazing would be to mix car classes in a single championship. What do you think about that?
That actually sounds really good and really interesting. I hope that's going to be possible, but as far as we know at the moment, there isn't really much information. We know that club's going to be there. There's going to be lobbies with 32 players active at the same time. But apart from that, there's not that much about the online experience just yet. I suspect that will either be talked about next week in the gameplay news that will come out, or most likely in 2 weeks when they go over modes and features and such. That will get more information, and you'll be able to focus on that and try to work your ideas into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that's why I was saying we can't really say much about the special events, because there are all sorts of things that would be really awesome that right now what we have to do in clubs is have two different clubs going on if you want to mix classes, which is not something that we normally do. Yeah. Dennis, do you want to say anything about any of the other clubs like Daily or Shinyo? Do you want to talk about some of those, or should I carry on and we'll just chime in?
Yeah, I think you can carry on because you're the guy that has most to say about this, I think.
Okay. Well,
if it's okay for you.
Yeah, that's fine by me. But Shinyo, we've come to some of these decisions together, and you haven't really.
Yeah, of course, you and Shinyo.
Yeah. Shinyo, do you want to?
You're great. No, I think it's good to have the same voice continuing this.
Okay. So we also have a daily championship, as you know, which is it's basically a 7-day championship. It runs every week, run by Void Robot, and that as well is just based on the regular scoring model. And so since there would be very little transition required there, and as Sim said, we don't really know what the multiplayer clubs thing is going to be like, but assuming it's the same kind of deal, we should have a daily event running from day one, really, if things go according to plan. So the dailies will be transitioning to the new game almost immediately, as would be the general regular club. The special events will have to do a wait and see. And that leaves the one-shot weekly, which is, one stage per week. You can practice as much as you want, but then you have to do the one stage for real. That's your one shot that you get. I think that's going to be pretty much... once in this new season that we're about to announce is going to finish in at the end of the year, I think we'll have already had a chance to examine the new game for about a month or two by that point, and very likely we'll be transitioning the one-shot weekly to the new game in January as well. And that's where everyone gets a chance to vote. The top people in the top 15 get a chance to vote which stages they want to see. And that leaves the very special Expert Historic Club. Now, Sim, I don't know if you know about our Expert Historic Club. Have you heard of that?
I've seen it around, but I haven't exactly an idea of what it is. Okay. So you'll be happy to explain it.
Yeah, I think you're going to love this. So one of our members, Mexico, runs this club, and he's been running it before they became affiliated with GRF. So he's been working on this for years now. He looks at actual historic WRC events, and we're talking about H2 rear-wheel drive, H3 rear-wheel drive, Group B rear-wheel drive, and now Group B four-wheel drive as well. And you'll look at the events from that era, and we will try to recreate the season, of course, an abbreviated one. We don't have the number of kilometers they have, so he takes a factor of I don't know, like 1/3 the number of stages or something, and 1/10 the number of kilometers. He'll look at the weather conditions over the event as well, and then try to recreate that in Dirt Rally 2. And of course, there are some locations that just do not have a 1-for-1 thing. So he does. He'll do a substitution. So, for example, I think one year, while he was watching VHS rallies, he saw that the Brazilian stages look very similar to Australia, so he used Australia for them. And so now, with so many more locations, it opens up huge numbers of possibilities where we can recreate older events. And even if we have to do substitutions, there are many more locations to choose from that will have better substitutions. So I think, like Corsica is the lower stages of Monte Carlo right now, but we will be able to have something that's either exactly Corsica or very similar in the new game. So that's something that is very exciting, but again, we have to wait and see what it's going to actually be like. But we will be doing the transition into the EA Sports WRC game very quickly, as soon as we believe that it is an appropriate has an appropriate club ecosystem. So yeah, what do you think about the Expert Historic now that you know about it, and what that might mean in the new game, the possibilities?
It's a very interesting way of organizing events, trying to recreate them in the real life.
Yep.
And now that in the game, not in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. You need to watch a lot of VHS tapes and so on.
Yes.
But it's a really fun way of doing things. And I think now that in EA Sports WRC you have a vast amount of new locations that are considerably different from one another.
Yep.
I think that that type of championship can actually flourish even more with the opportunity of having that many different locations. So yeah, definitely go and do that. I would definitely do that if I were you.
You should join us for it. Right now we're doing a Group B four-wheel drive season, but the next season is likely to be with the new game. And if you have time on your hands, you should join that club.
Yeah, I might. But after so many years driving very competitively in Dirt Rally 2.0,
yep.
I've lost a bit of the will to go competitive, as I've gone really deep when it comes to competitive rallying.
Yes.
Eventually I practiced for 6 or 7 hours a day besides my full-time job.
Yep.
So it took a lot out of me, and it's not easy to get back into that, and I don't want to go that deep again. But it will be very interesting to see how it works in the new game, and I might dabble in some of the competitions here and there.
Yeah, most of the people, like I'm probably the one who practices the most for the Expert Historic club, and I used to do like 4 or 5 hours a day at one point before I got burnt out, and now I'll just do like maybe a couple of hours 3 or 4 times a week to play. Mm-hmm. But we do have some really good drivers in that club especially, but more importantly we have an amazing community, and we have
a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs which you can join as a casual racer, or somebody who doesn't put like thousands of hours into the game.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah. After a while, I just went into a certain club from a friend or something like that, and I said to myself, the only thing I'll do is I'll drive the stage 3 times beforehand just to get a feel for the car and know where the road goes a bit, and then I'll just blast down the stage and see how it ends in the competition itself. Eventually, I managed to win the whole thing, which was with R5 cars.
Okay.
Everybody picked the quickest one, and I decided,
Fiesta
you know
Mark
what,
II.
I'm not going to pick the quickest one. I'll pick one of the slower ones so I can, basically, I don't feel the urge to be very competitive because of that. But yeah, it didn't turn out that way actually as I went.
Yeah.
I kept to my structure of 3 runs and then do it competitively, and I still managed to, beat for win the crown, as it were, in that championship with the 208 D16 R5, which was was a lot of fun.
Cool. So,
And I might actually, do similar things with other clubs and so on in EA Sports WRC, and perhaps you'll see me pop up in one of yours.
wonderful.
That would be cool.
Yeah, so we've talked about how we're
But you said that you were that there was a time where you were really competitive. I think Joe said that you reached the semi-finals.
Exactly, that's what
Yep.
I was about to transition into, so that's perfect.
Yeah, I did.
Can you tell us a bit
yeah.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I qualified. I attempted to qualify for the quarterfinals. So there was a qualifier, several qualifiers, a few on gravel and so on. Those on gravel, I just missed out on qualifying, but then there was the very last qualifier was on tarmac in Spain, which is my forte. I can be within the top 5 times in, I don't know, 4 or 5 runs. So that goes really quickly, and I feel very comfortable on that tarmac. And eventually managed to qualify for the quarterfinal. Eventually did that and managed to reach the semi-finals. But by that time, when the semi-finals arrived, I was completely burned out when it comes to competitive racing, and I wasn't able and didn't have the joy anymore. Wasn't able to practice enough to be really competitive in the semi-finals. Eventually ended 4th out of 6, and made a few mistakes and so on.
Yeah,
So
I remember.
that was the time that I said, no, I'm stopping with being very competitive, or ultra competitive, as it were, beating everyone, trying to beat everyone, because it was a bit too much for me personally, physically and mentally. So I had to take a step back.
Understandable.
But it was, quite an accomplishment, I must say. Still one I'm very happy about, despite the consequences afterwards. But it is what it is, and we need to keep moving.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was rooting for you because, that was the time when John Armstrong was doing a lot of Dirt Rally 2 videos, of him driving a lot.
Yep.
And
also competed in his competition, in his
I remember.
Trustmasters esports rally, and finished, I don't know, top 5. No, I finished 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah, that was the first club I ever did. I was the first John Armstrong Thrustmaster one. And I drove the first event, just having got back from the hospital with COVID, on the same day. And then, and so, I knew you from that community at that point, right?
Oh, cool.
And so I was rooting for you, and I sent you a message saying, I was rooting for you. Good luck. And I really loved the quarterfinal performance. But I must say, you made some mistakes in the semifinals, and I felt that there was something off. Because I was quite sure that you were going to make it through. But then, so it's great to know what happened. And I'm actually rewatching these at the moment. I just finished the 2020 Dirt Rally 2, and I was just starting on the finals of the 2021. So, I'm rewatching that just for fun, and it's pretty cool seeing that, a bit of nostalgia and watching how it's done. So you don't drive like that anymore. You don't do like hours and hours each day. Is that right?
No, not anymore. No, it's more of a casual drive. Sometimes I jump in to see if I still got it, as it were. Jump into Spain, pick a random car, and go for a drive for an hour or two, see how close I can get to the world record.
Yep.
Also try, a few different ways of driving. For example, one of my videos on the channel is me driving the Lancia 037 Group B rear-wheel drive, but with the H pattern and clutch.
Yep.
And trying to get a world record from that. Eventually managed to actually do that for a brief moment because, I think a day or 2 days later it was beat by somebody else by 5 or 6 seconds. So I was, crap. But he wasn't using the H pattern, he was using his pedals and so on. So it wasn't really a fair fight, but I managed to do that in, H pattern, clutch, manual gearbox. So that was quite cool.
Yeah, there are some like combinations that are easier to break than others, and especially the wet stages, they're less of a challenge because not many people do them, or the long stages. But then to do it in the H pattern is pretty cool. Very good.
On dry tarmac in Spain.
Yeah.
On a stage that is the one that was most run, I think.
Yeah.
Most times on that board.
Oh, man.
Just to see, just to challenge myself and see what I can possibly do. Did the same with the Delta S4 and managed, I think I did a top 10 at the time. Not sure. But again, H pattern, manual gearbox, clutch, the lot. See how far I could get up the leaderboard that way.
Yeah,
it's different. It's a challenge, and that's fun.
Yeah, one of our drivers, Nbate66, who was also in the Thrustmaster John Armstrong Challenge.
Recognize the name.
Yeah, he's really good, and he drives H pattern as well, and he has a great pedal cam. So that we can see what he's doing, and his footwork is fancy, and he's always been someone like of the same kind of generation as you, that I first met in the Thrustmaster Challenge and kind of followed a little bit, and he races regularly in our club and wins almost anything, and I can beat him if I practice, but if it's a club where our special events, for example, you're not allowed to practice at all other than shakedowns with the combination of car and location. If it's something like that, he'll beat me hands down, and he's really super good, and he's getting better all the time as well. So yeah, it's fun to compete against people, but then knowing that he's using H pattern and he's using a realistic degree of rotation in the steering wheel, whereas I'm not, really puts me in awe of the performances that they put in. So
absolutely, yeah. I respect people that are capable of doing that. I'm sometimes one of those guys, not always. But I absolutely love it when he can pull it off.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, and I've also seen how cleanly you drive, and I know that not taking illegal cuts is one of the things that you're quite you hold yourself to that standard. But we do know in Dirt Rally 2, of course, there is the opportunity to take cuts that are just heinous. So that's certainly something that I hope they improve in the new game. What are your thoughts about cutting, and how would you like to see it handled?
Yeah, as you said, I'm not a fan of cutting corners to be the quickest one.
Yeah.
Or, for example, remove grass in. Well, if you lower the graphics to a certain extent, the grass disappears from the stage, and you can see what's underneath the ground and where you can go to cut massively. Yeah. People do that for World Series events and qualifiers, and you name it.
Yeah.
I'm fully against that. The rule for me is 2 wheels need to be on the track at all times, on the road at all times. So that's where my line lies. Now, when it comes to implementing, cutting rules and ways of preventing people from cutting, it's really difficult because, if you cut a certain way and it gets penalized, but then again, if you go off by accident and you get penalized for that, it's unfair. So where do you draw the line? Where's the reset area? Where's the time penalty area? It's not as clear cut to implement a certain way. And I believe that it's the communities that need to police the cutting system, or police the cutting, as it were. And one way of doing that is requesting replay footage that people who compete need to record it, and if it's really outrageous, the time that he sets compared to what he or she is normally capable of is that you'll be able to watch it and see what they did. See if they cut or not. And John Armstrong was one of those guys that implemented it for his event.
Yes.
If there was an outlier if there was a hint that you are cutting and cutting corners and such outrageously, he would ask you to send the replay footage and in order to review it and penalize you accordingly.
Yeah, I remember once. Jonathan Schaefer got flagged, and this is not for cutting, right? He got flagged by the Codemasters system because he beat the time that the software felt no human could do.
Yeah.
And that was quite funny. He was flagged twice for that, and then they just discovered that he's just pretty damn good. But he is using VR in hood cam with no ground cover. And talking about no ground cover, you do the stages seem alien to me. Like I don't even recognize them somehow. It's quite telling how our subconscious really recognizes stuff. Without the ground cover, I sometimes don't even know which part of the stage I'm on when I see somebody else's footage.
Yeah, and especially like you said, when you watch world records on, world record clips or videos on YouTube, there's a lot of them that don't have any ground cover. The grass is completely gone, and so on and so on. So it really shows that they use every trick in the book, as it were, to get an advantage. And in my personal opinion, if you succeed in setting a world record, but there's no ground cover and you cut corners massively, you really don't deserve it.
Yeah, I must say that some people do have no ground cover, and other graphics have been turned down just from a performance point of view. Kind of disclaimer, especially in VR, it can be quite taxing on the systems. Yeah. But there's very few, I think, that are doing it just to. There are some people that do it just to get a faster time, and I will reserve judgment on that. But
I do understand for VR reasons that you would lower them because of the fidelity and it causes issues with fluency and so on.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand that. No worries. I can I see what the reason is, and there's a good reason for it. Yeah. But if there's no need for it, why would you possibly do it and claim a world record, basically cheating your way into it?
Okay.
More or less, not officially in code or something like that, but it feels like a bit of a cheat.
All right, one last thing I want to ask you about is VR. Like, you don't use VR, is that right?
No, at home I don't use VR. I have experience driving VR, which is absolutely fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I haven't, made a step to VR myself at home. I know I'll do that at some point in the future, but I want VR headsets that are far closer to the actual graphics that we have, and not, the somewhat downgrade, especially with the earlier versions of VR headset, where it's quite a difference.
Yeah, I don't, I've forgotten what the graphics look like outside of VR now. But when I see some people's videos, I just think, wow, how do they do such great crisp graphics there? So that's something. Okay, well, I think we've kept you for a long time here. Does anyone else want to ask him anything, or should we go to shout outs? Dennis, do you want to ask anything else, or are we?
No, can't think of anything.
Well,
no, it's okay from my side.
Stein, Stinio, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Don't have anything to add.
Okay, yeah, I see that. All right, so then let's start with you, Shinyo. I know you have to get going soon as well. Do you want to do any shout outs to anyone?
Not in particular. Thanks a lot, Sim, for joining us here. That was pretty awesome of you. And
You are
hoping to have
very
you
welcome.
back on the show. Yeah, maybe having you back on the show somewhere after the release or sooner. And seeing you in our clubs would be nice as well. To get some more Belgian power going. Thanks.
You are very welcome. You are always welcome to ask anything, to ask me on the podcast or whatever. Always open to help out and be part of things.
Thank you.
Right, awesome.
And Dennis, shout outs to anyone this week?
Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
No, go on.
I want to say you first, Finyo.
He's done his.
I was gonna give a small motivational shout out to Hiller Strumpa, that was doing really well lately, but now I saw that today he crashed in Expert Historic, so I want to give him a warm heart, or in the form of a shout out. So that's mine.
Okay, cool. Dennis, should I go first, or while you think of something, or do you want to go?
You can go first, Joe.
Okay, well, I haven't thought about it too much, but of course, thank you so much, Sim, and we're gonna thank you again and again, I'm sure, before we hang up here. But I would shout out to my Oceania drivers, Pukey and NBait66, for always providing a massive challenge in the Expert Historic, and Mexico for just continuing to arrange and organize, doing an amazing job in the Expert Historic series as well. Sim, is there anyone you want to shout out to?
I haven't really thought about shout outs, so no, at the moment not.
Okay,
maybe
cool.
Next time.
Yeah, sure. And Dennis?
Yeah, nobody in particular, because I've been away for a week. I was in Disneyland, as you all know.
Oh yes.
But shout out to Sim for being here. Thanks for joining our podcast, and also thanks for everything that you're doing for the Sim Rally community. We were talking about this while we were off air. There's a lot of YouTubers who cover iRacing stuff, ACC stuff, GT3 stuff in general, but there's like nobody except Sim doing really good and cool rally stuff. So thanks for that, and keep doing what you're doing, and always feel free to share it in our Discord.
You are very welcome, and you know what? I will give a shout out. I will give a shout out to anybody who's been watching my videos, who've downloaded my designs. Name any of those things. Thank you very much for the support and things like that. Really, really grateful for anybody who supports me, for every comment, for every like. It's really nice, and I don't expect much and from anybody, but I'm always glad to see that my work is appreciated by others.
Right, Sim, we didn't even get into like how long it takes you to make the videos, and with the outstanding production values they have. I think you talked about some like 18 hours just to make the post-trailer video, and with all the editing, the research, and putting it together. So that's something that's hugely appreciated. That's it's Sims Racing is your YouTube channel. You're also known as SRD Flatout. And I think you're on, even you use your name on Facebook as well, and we see all sorts of great content from you. So, yeah, if you haven't seen his stuff, go to the Sims Racing channel and you can check out Sim's liveries and all of that good stuff. And I'm just thrilled to have you here today and how accessible you've been. And it seems like, you are very giving of yourself to people asking questions and that. So I think you deserve all the great feedback as well.
Thanks. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay, well, I think then it's time to wrap up. We can just say goodbye one by one, and we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for everyone who's listening. Bye for now.
Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you very much.